It was Christmas Eve, 1944, deep in the frozen Ardennes forest. The Battle of the Bulge raged just beyond the trees. Soldiers on both sides were exhausted, cold and hungry. In a small cabin, a German civilian woman named Elisabeth Vincken and her 12-year-old son, Fritz, were about to create a moment of peace that would echo through history. Stay until the end to discover how one family's act of compassion turned enemies into neighbours for one unforgettable night. The Ardennes in winter 1944. The Ardennes' winter was merciless. Snow blanketed the forests, frost coated every surface, and the war had turned the region into a frozen battlefield. German and American forces faced each other across the forest, struggling to advance or hold ground. Soldiers were exhausted, low on supplies, and constantly in danger. Amid this chaos, Elisabeth Vincken and her son sought shelter in a small wooden hunting cabin belonging to Elisabeth's husband. Her home in Aachen, Germany, had been destroyed in the bombing campaigns, and the forest offered relative safety. They had little food, few supplies, and no certainty that the next knock on the door would bring help or danger. The first knock. As night fell on Christmas Eve, a soft knock echoed through the cabin. 3 American soldiers, lost and wounded, had wandered through the snowy forest. One was badly injured, bleeding from shrapnel wounds. Elisabeth hesitated for only a moment. She opened the door, invited them inside, and wrapped them in blankets. She told them quietly that this was a place of peace, and all weapons must remain outside. Communication was difficult. Words stumbled over language barriers, but gestures, glances, and shared suffering spoke louder than words. For a moment, the war paused at the threshold of her cabin. More guests arrive. Later, 4 German soldiers knocked. They were hungry, cold, and weary from the fighting. Elisabeth faced a dilemma. These were the enemies of the men already inside. Yet she made a decision that would define the night. "It is Holy Night," she reportedly said. "Here there will be no shooting." Everyone agreed, leaving their weapons outside, creating a fragile truce in the heart of war. The soldiers, both German and American, were cautious but curious. They cautiously stepped inside, drawn by the warmth of the cabin and the promise of food. A simple Christmas dinner. Inside, Elisabeth and Fritz prepared the best meal they could manage with their limited supplies. Potatoes boiled over a small fire. A roasted chicken or rooster was carved, and the family's bread and preserves were shared. The American soldiers contributed what they had: biscuits, coffee, and chocolate from their rations. One German soldier offered a loaf of bread, another some biscuits, and another some chocolate, candy, and sweets. The cabin was small, the table modest, but the atmosphere was extraordinary. For one night, enemies shared a meal, ate together, and experienced a moment of human connection that transcended orders, lines, and ideology. For a moment, the war had ended in the small cabin of a mother, not at the front lines or in a Congress meeting. Songs, prayers, and gifts. After the meal, soldiers sang together. Silent Night echoed in German, English, and even Latin. Tears were shed quietly. There were small gifts exchanged, a letter, a trinket, a button, a photograph, symbols and memories of life outside the war. Elisabeth reportedly said a brief prayer, thanking for safety and peace. Her son, Fritz, later recalled that she wept softly, overwhelmed by the mix of fear, relief, and the rare joy of shared humanity. The morning after. When dawn came, the truce ended. Soldiers left, weapons in hand, and the war resumed. But the impact of that night lingered. The Americans helped carry the wounded man on a makeshift stretcher fashioned from tablecloths. The Germans guided the Americans safely back toward their lines, handing over maps and compass directions. No shots were fired that night. For a few hours, the battlefield became a place of compassion, legacy of the Christmas truce. Elisabeth Vincken's act was small in scale but immense in meaning. Passed down through her son Fritz, her story reminds us that even amidst the horrors of war, humanity can survive. Historians and writers highlight her courage, opening her home to both sides, feeding the hungry, and creating a safe space for a brief truce. While not a large-scale ceasefire, it shows that individual choices can create moments of peace in a world otherwise consumed by conflict. Her story has inspired memoirs, blogs, and even a television adaptation, like the Canadian movie Silent Night, proving that small acts of compassion resonate far beyond the moment they occur. That Christmas Eve in 1944, war paused at a cabin door. Enemies became neighbours, food became a bridge, and a mother's compassion offered hope. This is a true World War II story. Elisabeth Vincken did not change the course of the Battle of the Bulge, but she reminded everyone present and generations after that humanity can shine even in the darkest winters of war. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments and subscribe for more true World War II stories.